Welcome to Prostate Cancer, the road to recovery, hosted by Stage 4 prostate cancer fighter Jason Stone. Whether you're newly diagnosed, a survivor, or a loved one or someone going through this experience, this podcast offers a lifeline of information and support. Based on real-time experiences, interviews with other fighters and survivors, and discussions with medical professionals, get ready for a raw, educational, and inspiring ride. Now let's join Jason as he shares his path to recovery.
Welcome back to Prostate Cancer, the road to recovery. My name's Jason. I'm 53 years old, and I have metastatic prostate cancer that has spread to my spine, and on this podcast, we talk about it. Today, I'm here with a coworker and friend, Kelly Robertson. Kelly.
Howdy, Jason. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a little bit.
Nope. I have
good
been.
To be here.
Oh, I'm glad. It's good to have you. I've been out of work for a little while, so I'm going to get back Monday.
That's what I hear. That's great. Looking forward to seeing you at work. Well, no, I'm not looking forward to seeing anybody at work, but since I have to be there, I'm looking forward to seeing you.
It is something we have to do. We like the things that affords us.
That's correct. I like living indoors and eating. So
yeah. The reason you're here today, both of us have had prostate cancer. We both got a diagnosis. It's shocking. It's like a complete change to your entire world. And I forget exactly how long ago yours was, like 12
2011
years?
is when I had my surgery, yeah.
Okay. And we both made different treatment choices. I went down the path of the ADT, which I've talked about on here quite a bit, the androgen deprivation therapy, as well as the radiation, which I've just finished up a week ago now.
Wow.
So, and you chose a different route.
Yeah.
So what did you choose, and why did you choose that?
So that was interesting. So when I was diagnosed, it was number one, I have to give a shout out to my doctor Melcher, Stephen Melcher, Weatherford, Texas. He was my GP.
Okay.
And he said, hey, you're 50 years old. I was 50 years old in 2010.
Yep.
He said, you're 50. You need to do a PSA. Okay. Had a PSA. It was slightly elevated. I was like 4.1. I think 4 is like the top of the scale.
Yep.
It was like 4.1. So, okay. He goes, it could be, you could have a cold. You could have something else. Let's wait. Let's do it again. A month later, another one, 4.1. He goes, I'm going to send you to a urologist.
Well, it's good that he did because it hadn't increased in a month.
Right. But he still didn't like the fact that it was a little high.
That it hadn't gone back down.
That's right.
All right. That's good.
So he sent me to a urologist, and the urologist did the same thing as, it's not cancer. It's probably something else, right? And so we did another one. He goes, 4.1 or 4. I don't think it went up at all.
Did they put you on any antibiotics or anything during those times? It was just come back and come back.
We'll try it, right? So I came back the second time. He says, we're going to do a biopsy. You did a biopsy, so you know how fun the biopsy is, right?
Yeah.
So we did the biopsy, and that's when he comes into the room, done with the biopsy, comes in and sits down and goes, well, you got cancer. I go, okay, all right. Well, let's talk about what we do now, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, there's options. Okay, you could do nothing and die in about 7 or 8 years. I go, well,
holy crap.
I don't like that option. Are there any other options we can choose here? He goes, yeah. He talked about seeding, right? We could get seeded. Okay. And then he went through the seeding is, told me what it did, but there's some side effects, right? Because you're damaging the other area around there, and there's things that could happen.
Yeah.
And then he basically said, or we could have surgery and remove it. So at the time, what I found out later, when I talked to my urologist this time, is that was the prevalent treatment at that time.
Yeah.
Was surgery, right? If it's not metastasized.
Right. If it's all contained in the tumor,
let's just take it out. Right. I said, well, and then my brain was like, well, if it's out, it's not in, right? It's not in me.
Yep.
It's not out. I'm not damaging anything else. Now, there's potential side effects, obviously, to surgery. Some can be very, devastating.
Yeah, because your urethra tube runs right through your prostate. There's a lot of stuff going on in your prostate.
So, right, they cut it off, and they basically tie your bladder to your urethra, the other end of your urethra.
Wow.
That's what they do. And so the biggest thing there was incontinence, right?
Yep.
Wearing a diaper the rest of your life.
Yep.
And, there's sexual side effects. There's all these side effects, right? And so talking it over with my wife, we said, I think surgery is the right answer for us. And so ADT I don't even think it was a thing. I didn't hear about it.
Okay.
And none of that was a thing, right? So had surgery. before I had surgery, I have a brother-in-law who's a nurse. And he calls up and says, don't tell him. You shouldn't have the surgery. They have a new process where they only take half the prostate.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah. So I go to my doctor. I said, okay, let's research this. I hadn't heard about it, so let's research it. So half the prostate, going to my doctor, goes, yeah, that's great. That's a ploy to get you to do 2 surgeries. Because if it's in one hemisphere, it's almost always in the other. And that makes sense, right? I mean,
yep,
and so I said, okay. All right, I get it. That's what they do. They give you one and say, oh, but you got cancer on the other side. You got to come back and have the rest taken out. We opted not to do that. Had the surgery. Yeah, you're catheterized for a week, right? Which was...
Because that's got to let the tube heal up.
That's right. So, but the funny thing is, we had moved in our house relatively recently, had a pool put in, and that weekend was when my wife and one of my sons and then one of his friends came over, and they were going to roll like 12 pallets of sod. So there I am outside with my bag tied around me, trying to help, and she goes, "Hey, moron,
you're not
why
supposed to be doing that."
Okay, I was really tired. That week was done. My wife goes out and buys this big bag of diapers for me. Right?
Yep.
Because hey, you're going to need them. Pulled out the thing, put a diaper on for a day. I said, I don't care if I pee my pants the rest of my life. I'm not wearing these. That was just for me.
It takes all your dignity away.
But then I didn't have that issue.
Oh.
I was going to the bathroom more for a while and maybe some leakage, but nothing really major.
I wonder if your age at the time played into your body's ability to recover from that and
absolutely,
heal.
Absolutely. I mean, I believe that.
Because how old were you?
I was 51.
Yeah. So you were once again young with prostate cancer.
Right.
I was diagnosed when I was 52.
There you go. Right.
We're both retired Navy.
Yeah. I'm filing the claim here later, but
good.
Oh yeah. So, but I had prostatitis all the time in the Navy. My last few years in the Navy, so I can connect that. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
So had that surgery. PSAs, I think we had it every 3 months and 6 months and annually for 5 years, 0, right?
And
less than minimum detectable.
Because there's no prostate there to generate
so
those
there's no prostate
antigens.
Specific antigens, right?
Yep.
And so I said, great. So that's why I had it done. It was basically the best option I was given.
Okay. Was there anything else you did following surgery that you think helped with your recovery? Like, were there any diet change? So normally you rest. Try and take it easy. You're not trying to put too much stress on that area. Right. What else? Anything?
Well, after I recovered, after I got better, right? Well, the other thing is I knew I'm a diabetic, so type 2 diabetes since about 2007.
So you're always watching your diet.
Well, I'm supposed to always be watching.
You're supposed
my diet,
to be
right?
always watching your diet.
So that's one thing I said. Hey, I've got to lose some weight. I've got to get in shape, right? So that led to my next surgery. So I started running.
Oh man!
So I'm running 6 miles a day.
Okay.
And we had a little neighborhood. It's like a little horseshoe, and I'd run back and forth. And in every rotation was, I think, 2 miles or a mile and a half. So I do 4 of them.
Okay.
Right. And ran and ran and ran and ran. Lost weight, looked good, felt good. When I did check my blood sugar, it was nice down there. The doctor remarked that I was down in the regular range and all this cool stuff. And then my hips started hurting.
Oh man!
And I go, So then you're taking a little more Motrin as you run, and then you're getting a little, but I'm still running. And then I got to the point where I couldn't run anymore. Right.
That sucks.
So I go in and you need a new hip, and so I had a hip replacement in 2012. Right. The only 2 surgeries I've had in my life.
Wow.
Right there.
Right there.
It was just crazy. But yeah.
2011, 2012.
But so trying to try, and it wasn't cancer specific. So I didn't do a bunch of research on that at the time because what I thought in my head is it is removed. I don't have cancer.
Well, and I've had the same thought. Like I still struggle with the idea that we haven't done surgery to remove the primary tumor.
Right.
Even though I've got a spot on my freaking L1 is taken up with a 3 by 2 centimeter chunk. But why not get rid of the first one? Right. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're fine. Yeah. So that's right. So in my head, it's like, okay, I'm less than minimum detectable. I'm here. There's no issue. I can just go back to my life. And I just didn't. What I regret is not doing more research on that, right? Not because the doctor really didn't say about, hey, this could recur, right?
Oh.
He didn't really go into that.
There wasn't.
Hey.
And just so you know,
you need to change your lifestyle, dude, because this could happen again. And I don't know how much study there was on there. I mean, there's a lot more. I've read a lot more this time than I did last time. So studies on your blood sugar level and cancer and, kind kind of things like that.
Yeah.
Because obviously cancer, that's what feeds cancer is glucose.
That's what feeds most cancers.
That's right.
The prostate's a unique one,
Yeah.
prostate and breast cancers,
Well,
because they're hormone fed.
Right.
Primary.
But still,
Yeah, our body still uses fuel, and you got to be careful about what fuel you put in your body.
That's right. So, yeah.
So, would you, knowing what you know today, and we're going to get to your most recent situation here in a second, but would you do the same treatment knowing what you know today and what's available?
Well, that's a big question. I still believe I probably would. I just still, because it wasn't metastasized, and my whole mindset was, hey, I want it out of my body.
If you can remove the primary tumor,
Right.
with success,
Right.
and you had success.
Oh,
you
yeah.
had your age was playing into it. You're being careful about your diet. Your body healed from it.
So another story about my urologist.
Yeah.
Right? So I had my surgery, and they did it with the Da Vinci machine. So I had the 7 arms poked in my body, right? It was laparoscopically, I guess is what they call it. So I'm recovering. He comes in, he goes, yep. He goes, got it all. He goes, I was coming out, and I saw a little more material, so I went and scraped it out, right? Good thing, because it had cancer in it. I go, yeah, it's a good thing, Doc. It's your job, which was good. I thought thank you.
Well, it's in there in a really tight spot.
Right.
I mean, it's right up against the colon, right?
That's right.
It's right under the bladder. It hugs the bottom of the bladder.
Right.
So when you're in there trying to separate that, I'm not a doctor, but as I understand, that's a tough thing to get out.
It's tough. So, but anyway, it was just, okay, thanks a lot. Apparently, he didn't do enough.
So I'm going through my stuff, and we talk at work a lot, and I share. I didn't think my situation was very serious at first, and so sadly, I regret treating it like a joke. In fact, telling jokes about it at work at first, because I really thought, well, I'm young, it can't be bad, right? Before I found out, no, you're stage 4, Bravo, it's metastasized, it's in your spine. We were worried about the spot on your rib. Before all that, I was treating it very, very light-handed. But I was sharing everything that was going on with a lot of people at work. And you went and got your PSA checked. And then you shared your story with me.
So, yeah. So an interesting thing on that, right? So I was talking about my doctor the first time doing the PSA. I didn't even think about it. But it was interesting. There was another individual in that organization that died from prostate cancer right before that.
At work?
Not here.
Oh, okay.
When I was down in Texas.
Texas?
Yeah, so he found out about it apparently when he jumped out of the truck to get some gas and broke his back because it had metastasized, right?
Holy crap.
He'd been having pain. So he passed away. I mean, they were not able to save him. It had spread too much. So that kind of, then when I found out, here's my PSA, that kind of alerted me and said, oh, this is serious stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now this time, so interesting, I did find something out on my PET scan.
Okay.
I'll share that. So you were having back issues.
Yeah.
And so my back was just killing me. So I'd bent over to tie my shoes, and I was fine until I got almost straight up, and it was just this wincing pain. I could barely do that. And then it got really bad. I go, oh. And then I think, well, Jason, I mean, with what you shared, Jason, he has these issues. And I've had prostate cancer. Oh, it couldn't be cancer, could it, right? And so I get on the phone, I get on my phone, text my doctor, hey, I want a PSA, right? I want a PSA, and I want kidney function also.
Oh, good.
I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Because I was thinking it's back here. It could be kidneys, right?
Yep.
And I'm not eating right, and so I'm just abusing my kidneys because of my diabetes, right? And so a big thing there is for everybody is it's not a big. It's kind of embarrassing to talk about prostate cancer, right? Just because of where it's at.
Yep.
And what it could lead to.
Well, and so many people don't know about it. There's not a book. When men turn 50, you should be handed a book. When men turn 40, you should be handed a book that says, here is what PSA is, what it means, and why you should get it monitored every year because it's a stupid, simple blood test.
Oh, yeah, it's easy.
Yeah.
So anyway, so then I had my PET scan, right? And I found out that on my L5, if that's the one right on the sacrum, it had rolled forward.
Ooh.
And it's got a stress fracture on it.
Ouch.
But here's something interesting. I figured, okay, that's why I had back pain. Oh,
Yeah.
duh. But I don't have back pain anymore since I started eating right. I have zero back pain. And so I don't know why. I can't correlate that. But
Your spine can't just heal itself.
just
There
telling
has
you,
to be an alignment,
I
right?
have zero
Huh.
back pain.
All right.
I don't know what that is. I had that. I got everything. I got everything checked. Then my back pain went away before I had my.
Wow.
I have none. So you can call it Providence. You can call it, something to get me to get in there for my PSA, right? Because I would have.
Yeah.
0.3. When would I feel symptoms, right? Who knows? It'd have to metastasize and do all this other stuff first, right? So at least right now.
Well, that's this weird thing about PSA is I know. So I'm on a couple of different Facebook groups about prostate cancer, and I know several guys that get in there and they're like, or the wives of the guys get in there and they're like, my husband's PSA is 10, so that means it's not metastatic, right? And then some get in there and say it's 10. It means it's metastasized, right? It has nothing to do with whether it's metastasized.
That's just the amount of...
There's guys that have metastasized prostate cancer with PSAs of 2 or 3.
Right. That's right. No, that's correct.
Yeah, and then there's some that are in the 60s where it's not metastasized. It's confined. And you don't know.
That's right. You don't know.
Those are, there has to be some relation there, but they're not correlation.
So, right, there's not correlation, but there's a relation, right? If the higher your PSA, the more, I would say, the more probability there is that it can or will or has metastasized.
Right, it changes the probability, not the...
Because that's more prostate cancer cells. Right. That's really, it's a measure of how many cancer cells are there, which it gives you a higher probability that they've metastasized or will metastasize.
Yep.
Right.
So one of the things we've talked about through texts and phone calls, I appreciate the support, by the way. A lot of people have reached out, and it
makes a difference.
It does. It does make a difference having a support group, having people that just check in and say, "Hey, are you okay?" Yeah. One of the things I shared with you is I'm right now, and I'm still new to this, so maybe it'll get better, but I'm kind of in this constant state of fear. I'm trying not to let it build into a high level of anxiety, but I've done my radiation treatments now, and we're not doing a scan to see what the status of my cancer looks like.
All right.
Right? I'm going to stay on ADT for at least a year, so another 10 months. And the only thing we're going to do is monitor my PSA. And we're not even doing one for another 3 weeks. It's 4 weeks after I'm done with treatment. And so I'm kind of like in this low-level anxiety, fear, where I'm just going to be waiting between PSA tests. And that's just what my life is going to be like now. Now, you did the surgery back in 2011 and then moved on. You were able to get past that. But knowing what you know now, how do you intend to manage or cope with that constant?
So you just explained why I had surgery.
Okay.
Because if it's out of my body, I don't have to worry about it, right? If it's not there, I don't have to worry about it. And, thinking back between the seating, and it's another interesting thing. I asked our urologist, well, what would you do? He goes, I'd get seated. I go, but you're telling me it's probably better? He goes, yeah, here's the difference. I don't get paid when I'm not at work. Right? He goes, I don't have time off because I'm a doctor. I'm paying all these bills. I'd get seated and just keep going to work. You're going to have to take, I took almost a month off.
Okay.
But because I could have gone back probably in 3 weeks or 2 weeks. I probably could have, but I wanted to see
there's fear with going back to work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's how I coped with my fear the first time. I just got it removed, and then I just could figure. I had 0 PSAs. Well, I'm good.
Okay.
But I'm not, right? So
and it turns out now
I'll tell you this time. So I've had a couple nights. So when I first had this issue, before I got my PSA, because I thought it could be kidney, it could be pancreas. I had other symptoms of issues, and it was, I think, more from my eating than anything else. But
and you went to Dr. Google.
Yes, yes. And so I'm like, that could be pancreatic cancer, and that's pretty much a death sentence, right? It's hard to come back from that.
It is.
And so I had some sleepless nights, right? And then I had my PSA, and then I'm thinking, hey, it's prostate cancer. Okay, I've done that before, right? But then I'm thinking, well, what if it metastasized somewhere else, right? What if it's this and that and blah, blah, blah. So for me, my belief in God, and my understanding of what my plan is in here and has really helped me, right? Because sometimes you just got to let go of all that, because it's a...
There's spirituality is a huge part of a lot of success stories. When you talk to people about success stories, the things that are common are I improved my diet, I reached out to friends and family, and whatever their spiritual beliefs are, they re-engaged with that.
Yep.
And those are common threads to all really strong success stories. Now, we've kind of talked around it. There's people who picked up hints, I'm sure, but just talk about your most recent, just what happened with your most recent brush with prostate cancer. Because even though you had it out in 2011, what happened now? You got your PSA tested and...
Oh, as far as, okay. So I had you're talking about my treatment plan so far, or who I've seen?
To this, your most recent brush with. Yeah.
So I had my PSA tested in August, and it came out 0.4. And so my doctor, my GP, said, well, we're going to have an ultra-sensitive PSA. So great, maybe it's, and it came out 0.386. So,
oh, man.
So the other one's pretty
pretty accurate,
right? And so then I was given an appointment with a urologist who saw me, good guy, but he saw me for 10, 15 minutes and said, hey, we need to get you a PET scan, and you need to get into an oncologist. Right?
And that was here. Was it Slongo?
No, It was Gavin.
Okay.
I got that set up. The PET scan was last Monday. Monday. And the oncologist appointment was just on Wednesday. Right.
And you met with my doctor, our doctor, I guess, Dr. Brian Lewenda. Thank you.
Yeah. And so we had a discussion there. He sat me down and said, okay, we can't see it because it's too low.
Right.
We can't pick it up with PET scan because, I had my PET scan and then I got the results on my little MyChart in an hour.
Oh, nice.
I'm looking through no uptake, no abnormality, no uptake. Oh, yeah, you got a problem with your spine. I'm like, woohoo, I don't have cancer, right?
Yeah,
that's what I'm
that's
thinking.
A good sign.
I don't have cancer. Ha ha.
But something's causing.
That's right. And so when I went to see the doctor, I got put back on earth, and he said, no, you have cancer. It's just low enough to where we can't pick it up on a PET scan. He recommended that we start first I haven't had a colonoscopy in forever. I don't know if I want to badmouth Cadlick because they're but it takes forever and a day. I've had an appointment. I mean, it's like waiting 6 or 7 or 8 months. So he's working on getting me that because he wants to make sure there's nothing.
He's really good about getting things moved.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure he is. So with that, and then he wanted to put me on Lupron.
Okay.
And get me right in to do radiation therapy, right?
Okay.
In a few weeks. Start, just get this rolling. So I asked him, I said, so we're going to do that. If we're going to do that, where are you going to aim that beam?
Yeah.
He goes, well,
just generally in the prostate area.
He says where the bladder stitches up to the urethra now, because what they do is when they take your prostate out, they attach your bladder right to your urethra because there's nothing in between, right? He says right in that bed right there, and then the 2 lymph nodes on the side of it. That's what we're gonna do. I said okay, okay. And he goes, that's probabilistic. It's there. It could be there. It's probably there. I go, all right. What if we're wrong?
Yeah, no kidding.
He goes, well, then we'll do it wherever it pops up. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So I'm thinking about that. I'm like, so this could be multiple iterations of radiation therapy. I'm like, I don't know about that, right? And so I've been doing some research. I mean, in the last couple of months, and there's a lot out there about how diet can affect cancer in general. Now, granted, prostate cancer isn't necessarily the same. Prostate cancer is different because it is hormonal, and there's a lot less blood flow in the area, and there's all these other things. But right now, I'm kind of of the opinion. I haven't made up my mind 100%, but I'm of the opinion I might want to wait and just monitor. Active monitoring.
Yeah, with the diet changes.
That's right, with diet changes and lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
And there might be something to that. And if it stays constant, if it stays there, if it's maybe, stays around 0.3, 0.4, so
that's an indication it's not growing because you don't have a prostate. So all this is presumably, all it takes is a couple cells.
That's right.
That remained tied to some tissue somewhere. And eventually those cells grew and then it became malignant, and now you've got prostate cancer again 12 years later.
Right. So I think I'm going to do some active monitoring for a little bit, maybe a couple months, the first of the year.
Okay.
And see how it goes. If it stays the same, maybe I won't. Maybe if it reduces, maybe,
Yeah. So when you say active monitoring, how often do you intend to get your PSA checked?
I was thinking monthly if they'll let me. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, you can go to, there's an app, LabCorp. We have all these LabCorp
that's true.
things, and it's inexpensive, like $45.
And so I'll just
and you can
do it.
just get a test weekly if you want.
Right. So I think I'll probably do that in my A1C because of my diet changes. I want to see where I'm at A1C wise. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't thank you. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But I have that app because I had some other testing done on my own before. So that's a good idea.
Yeah, you can just order your own test because if you're paying for it out of pocket, you don't need a doctor to say,
right.
hey, I want this. It's just a blood test.
That's right.
In fact, I am thinking of doing that just to relieve my anxiety a little bit.
Oh, yeah, why not? Just take a little blood and you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be nice to know for sure where I'm at with my PSA level.
You got to be careful, though, right? Because does a rising PSA, what does that mean, right? And so
right, and that's where on my first episode I talked about I was getting back on the bicycle. So there's trauma down there, right? And anything that causes trauma down there or stress can cause your PSA to go up. So it's not just cancer that causes those antigens to be released.
And you know, I just had a thought.
Yeah,
and I don't even know if this is even. But it's interesting that you say that because I'm thinking about my damaged back. Just now I'm thinking about that.
Oh.
Would that cause inflammation? Would that cause PSA to go up?
I have no idea.
I don't either. But maybe I'm grasping at more straws. I don't know, but just a thought.
Well, it's another case for active monitoring.
Right.
It's another reason that this supports the idea that, hey, maybe the right thing to do for you right now is and I think the technical term is active surveillance. When we do active monitoring, active surveillance, where you're just periodically getting your PSA checked to see what the trend is. And that's what matters is the trend. It's not the number, it's the trend.
Correct.
Well, except unless you've had your prostate removed, then the number does matter.
Well, it does,
above.
but
what was the number that was the threshold?
So the threshold's 0.2.
Okay.
So they say you should be less than 0.2. And then between 0.2 and 0.4 is that gray zone where it's like, we think you have cancer, but so like I say, I'm at 0.3.
And you're right at that.
Yeah, I'm right at that threshold at the top. But yeah, and maybe I just go get it, and maybe I get it every other week. Who knows? I mean, I don't know how long it takes to change. I don't know, traditional thinking, or at least what I understand is prostate cancer is typically slow growing. Not always. Not
always. Like in my case, it's pretty aggressive, but
usually
slow. 70% of the people with prostate cancer will have slow growing cancer.
Right. So, and I don't know. Unfortunately, I wasn't smart enough to do my PSA at least every year. Right. I just didn't because I thought I was done. And
we don't know.
And we move and we do all this stuff, and and then life happens, and you get all this and. All I needed to do is go down there and have my PSA checked, and I know the trend. And maybe it's been 0.387 for 5 years. I don't know.
Yep.
Don't know.
What I've been recommending to people is September is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Put it on your calendar. Every September, get your PSA checked. That if you're a male, biological male, 40 or older, every September, just go get it checked.
Yeah.
It's a blood test. Ask your doctor. They'll be like, oh, sure, if you want to. Because there's still the idea that, well, that's not a problem until you're in your 60s or most of the time 70s or 80s.
Well, you and I both know better than that, right?
But yeah, we had it in our early 50s.
Well, what the doctor told me, that my first urologist said, hey, if you were 75 years old, I'd tell you go home and have a nice life. We wouldn't do anything. Now, I'd probably argue with him, but I'm just saying, he just said, yeah.
I'd still want some kind of treatment.
Yeah. But.
Yeah, and so really the only risk right now with your recurrence, because that's what it is, right? You had it removed, you were undetectable for so many years, and now there's been a recurrence. The risk with the active monitoring, active surveillance is, there's risk with the treatment and there's risk with the surveillance. The risk with the surveillance is that, hey, it could turn into an aggressive cancer. It may metastasize. It may form a new tumor, and that changes your path drastically.
That's right.
The risk with hey, let's just not blindly, but you really don't have a target.
Right. Let's slag it, right? I mean, we're saying, okay, here's what other people have experienced. This is where I think it's going to be.
Yeah.
And it probably is.
But
I don't know for sure.
But you don't know.
Right. So
Yeah, and then you're dosing your bladder. You're dosing.
Right.
So I'm still. I'm trying to go. I'm going back to work on Monday.
Yeah.
But I'm still experiencing some symptoms. Like I said, I was telling you off camera, the diarrhea hasn't stopped yet.
Right.
The Imodium has helped. When I remember to take some Imodium, it's helping a little bit. But I've been going through this thing where I'm peeing blood. And that's because of oxalate crystals that are forming.
Ooh, not
and
good.
so
I've had crystals form. That's so my this is back Navy time, right?
yeah.
So my last boat, I had prostatitis probably 2 or 3 times, maybe more, and I was peeing a little bit of blood. And the corpsman on the boat, right? Because we don't have a doctor,
Right.
And some of them were good, and this guy was okay. So he took a sample and he was looking at it under the microscope, and he was showing me all these little knives, all these little daggers that I had, all these crystals
cut through there. Oh.
And I'm like, and I changed some of the stuff, stop drinking sodas, things like that. Don't drink sodas.
Yep. Soda's bad.
Oh yeah, yeah it is.
It's so weird that the carbonation and the soda is so bad for you. I always thought it was high calcium levels.
Yeah, it's not.
But it turns out I'm now taking calcium acetate, which binds with the oxalates in my bowels to do away with the formation of the crystals. So I'm trying to get that cleared up.
Oh yeah,
That's not
kind of
fun.
painful, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know. So we were talking. The waiting game. We haven't even talked about that yet.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So, like I said, I had some bad nights there at first, and then after my PSA, I had some more bad nights. And really, and I'll be honest with you, I'm pretty stoic about the whole thing. It is what it is, right? That's one of the ways I get through it. And we talked about your belief system and what you believe, and that really helps tremendously. But my biggest fear was not being able to take care of my wife and my family. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. The biggest thing that was worried about me. I'm going to leave, and they're going to be, who knows?
Right.
And so that's just, that really kept me up at night.
We're pretty lucky that we've got a good job that supports us, that has good benefits where we're able to do stuff like this.
That's right.
Once we're gone,
all that goes away.
all that goes away.
Your retirement goes away. My naval retirement's going away, right? Man. So the work retirement we have will go away.
Yeah, scary.
Now, I think we're okay, but I mean, I don't know how okay.
These are things I didn't want to be thinking about in my early 50s.
No,
and,
I know.
You know?
Oh, I know. Believe me, I know. Yeah, for me, even I'm 63.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to check out yet.
Nope.
Not yet. Yeah, maybe God's telling me I'm going to check out. I don't know.
Nah.
But I don't feel that way. What I feel like is all these things are helping me identify with this. The fact that, that you had your cancer and the fact that your back was hurting. I mean, that's what made me check it. Right now, if my back had gotten better anyway, I'd just be going on in life, and that thing might be just going up and up and up, and I never know it.
You would
so
never
3
had
years
been
from
tested.
now, 3 years from now, it'll be metastasized, and who knows?
Oh,
right?
man.
I mean, think about that. So I have a choice. I have options now. Then there wouldn't be any option. Now I have options because of that. And so maybe that is what it's about.
I'm glad you got your PSA checked.
Oh, me too.
I hope everybody at work is getting their PSA checked.
They should. I mean, my goodness.
I'm telling
2 of us.
I'm telling
right?
everybody.
2 of us.
Yep.
That's a high number, right?
Yep.
10 years apart.
Crazy.
Well, I know. But
so some of the stuff we talked about today was you had prostate cancer back in 2011, and you chose the surgery route. And you talked through some of your reasons for that surgery then and what you might do different now. You talked about your recurrence, which is that's a big deal. And what I've been told is that will happen. One of the things I learned early on, one of the doctors had said, is that all men will get prostate cancer if you live long enough. It is something that happens. There isn't anybody that will not get it. The longer you live, it's just the odds. The longer you live, the more likely you are to get it until you eventually do.
Right.
And I forgot what I was saying there. But
so my dad,
yeah.
And some of the story this year, I think, right?
Yeah.
So my dad had
a
stroke.
Crazy year.
So this year was, so I can't even remember what it's called. I had vertigo, and I had my Bell's palsy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in my daughter's house in Utah, and I'm throwing up. I never throw up. My wife has seen me throw up before once in 40 years, right? Never throw up. throwing up, Bell's palsy, his face is drooping. I had that, right? And then in July, the beginning of July, my dad has a stroke. And now I'm his guardian and conservator, which I'm honored to be able to do that for him. But that's a lot. That's taxing.
That's stress.
And I'm trying to get him divorced from this woman that stole about $150,000 to $200,000 from him, right? And the saga on that is she's responded, so she wants to go to court. She doesn't have a lawyer, though, so this should be interesting.
Okay.
We'll see what happens there. But anyway, so, I mean, just all this stuff.
Yeah.
And you throw this on top. So it's just, well, how much can you really take?
Yeah, no kidding.
But, like I say.
That's where the spiritual side comes in.
Absolutely.
You have to have some belief system.
Oh, yeah. You have to.
Well,
I feel bad for people that don't. I just don't know how you could make it through life without it.
Fair
personally.
enough. Fair enough.
Whatever that is, right? I just don't see how you can do it.
Yep.
I couldn't.
We talked about, your recurrence. We talked about a lot of stuff.
I speak fast, too. I hope everybody can understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think there'll be some editing magic going on
Really,
for some
slow
of
me
those.
down.
But and then,
Yeah, that's right.
But no, it's been a good interview. I really appreciate you coming over. I look forward to getting back to work Monday.
I look forward to seeing you.
And thank you for your time, Kelly.
I won't be seeing you too much. We're right into the exam phase.
Oh, that's
Starting
the
Monday.
fun. Starting Monday. That's fun.
Well, I look forward to it. And if you ever want to do this again or want an update, that'd be great.
Well, I'm going to want updates, right?
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Next time you get your PSA checked, I want to know.
Oh, sure.
All right.
I'll let you know.
Well, with that, appreciate the listeners out there as well. And thank you for your time. Love you all.
We'll see you. Thanks.
What'd you think?
Oh, that was great. Easy.
Yeah, easy peasy.